You can't go through what the Evans family have gone through and not have an impact on your life. And they've taken that impact and they've turned it into a positive thing. Bob Evans has been an employee with us, and he's been a staple in this store. Bob is known to the community as Uncle Bob. People know that they can come ask Bob something and that he will help them. And that's the gist behind who we are. We're the helpful people, and Bob's a helpful guy.
Our son, Jeffrey, lost his life at age 26.
Jeff was a 4-star chef in the Atlanta area. He was up and rising. They discovered that an unknown virus had entered his body and had attacked his heart. He was immediately transferred to St. Joseph's Hospital down in Atlanta. About a year and a half through it, they had a heart. That heart had not been viable for transplant. And so he was sent home the next day, and he lived another year and a half. To have your son tell you, "Mom, I'm gonna die," and I couldn't tell him it wasn't true, was the worst day of my life. Because I knew he was. I instinctively knew he was. And I never lied to my kids. And I couldn't lie to him then.
He was laid back. He's the least judgmental person I've ever met, very similar to my dad. He just had a lot of grace. He was a good guy.
8 months later, I turned my face up to God and I said, "You got to make sense of this for me, because as a grieving mom, I don't understand why you took my son." And I thought about when he was diagnosed and he was told he would have to go to Birmingham for his insurance to pay for a heart transplant. But we thought about people coming into Atlanta under the same conditions and trying to figure out what we could do for them. And that's when we thought of the housing.
In the world of transplant organs, you cannot be transplanted unless you have a caregiver who is going to live with you 24/7. The caregiver has to step in and manage his own private life. You've also got the person's life, the family's life, the finances, housing, locations, and all this stuff comes into play. And our goal is to bring care to really the caregiver who gets overlooked in the medical industry, regardless whether it's cancer or this.
The Evans Foundation provides that close lodging in a 2-bedroom apartment for patients and caregivers.
You get up in the morning and the first thing you do is you get your patient.
We have had caregivers who have been living in the hospital. Most of them have this naugahyde, awful recliner sitting in the corner. You sleep night after night after night in that position. You grab a shower when you can at the hospital when somebody else isn't already in there. It's hard to keep clean clothes. If you're lucky, your family brings you clean clothes. And you're eating cafeteria food. That's the caregiver's world when they're in the hospital. And so we are there to relieve them from that.
Jeffrey C. Evans Foundation is one of a kind organization. You have a 2-bedroom apartment. You can cook meals. The caregiver can go in another bedroom and get some rest while your other family members can help watch the patient. Because of what the foundation does, it helps heal as one unit, and one unit as a family.
My daughter, Macy, was born with a restrictive atrial septum. Then we got listed for the transplant. She was on the list for 16 days, and we got the call that she got her heart. Just that home living, you don't feel like you're living on the road, you're living somewhere where you belong. I can actually be here with my daughter instead of having to make sure I'm back at home and going to work and doing all that stuff because of this situation.
We've had 186 families live in our apartments in 7 years. Of all of those people, we've only lost 5. That's a really good statistic for transplants.
Our goal is to open up a minimum of a 50,000 square foot, 5-story building, and it's laid out in such a way that it's beneficial for the medical people that are staying with us.
Ace's support obviously is massive. The fact that they give Bob the background to be able to use that and spread the word and talk to a lot of people and just keep it going out, I mean, that's huge.
When Bob started working on the Evans Foundation, we started to support him and let him do things in the store where he could market it and grow the foundation. Ace Hardware Corporation understands the need for the small business owner to be able to touch their communities.
It needs to be one of the most important things you do is to give to your community. Something that's touching somebody and doing something. And it's amazing how the community will rally around it.
You have to bless to be blessed.
Exactly.
God, if Jeff was here, well, he'd give everybody a hug. He'd probably break down crying. That's exactly what would happen.
We believe that Jeff is in heaven. We believe he's alive. And I believe he's looking down and is going, way to go, Mom and Dad and Brad. I really think he's pleased with it.